Welcome to Season 5, Episode 12 of Angela Watson's Truth for Teachers. I'm your host, Angela Watson, and I'm here to speak life, encouragement, and truth into the minds and hearts of educators and get you energized for the week ahead. Today, I'm going to be doing a coaching call with a teacher named April, and we'll be exploring how to be intentional and balanced with the way you spend your time, both online and off, even in highly stressful times of the year. Visit truthforteachers.com to get the transcript, links to recommended resources, and to share your thoughts on the show. So the episode that you're about to hear is a free coaching call that I conducted with a graduate of the Hour Teacher Workweek Club. It's a combination of instructional coaching and life coaching, all sort of rolled into one, where I'm answering teachers specific questions about productivity and balance and managing it all. This particular call is with a 5th grade teacher named April. And April's challenge right now is with trying to find balance and intentionality during times of the year that are super demanding, such as during Parent Conference Week. As we get into the conversation, we dig deeper into her social media habits and exploring how her desire to learn from and connect with other educators is sometimes swallowing up more time than she intends and interfering with her ability to get a good night's rest and really stay in balance. So we talk a lot about intentional connectivity, and you'll hear me mention a free intentional connectivity challenge. If that's something that you're interested in, stick around to the end of the episode and I'll tell you how you can join in for this too. So April's given me permission to record our conversation and share it here with you so that you can analyze your habits and get in better balance too. Here's April with her first question.
I'm still finding, too, that I'm struggling to find balance with social media accounts, that it's easy for me to let time slip away, and I'm so inspired and encouraged by other educators I'm following around the country, even in other countries, that are doing great things in their classroom, but I really could use some advice on ways to effectively manage my time spent with social media so that I can still feel connected to those educators out there and up to date on ideas, but be using my time effectively.
Mm-hmm. This is a really important issue, and I think a lot of people aren't even aware of it. They don't even notice how their social media habits impact the way they feel and how much they get done. So I'm really excited to hear that this is even on your radar and that it's something that you're paying attention to. Tell me more about your habits, first of all. Like, how much time are you spending on social media and how much of that time is related to teaching stuff?
Well, I have some teachers that I follow on Facebook and Instagram, and so some of it, truthfully, is probably idle time spent in the evening before bedtime that I'm starting to be concerned is impacting not only my sleep somewhat, but potentially, even my relationship with my spouse, if I'm still, searching things, working on my, my laptop or iPad, in the evening, that I can see that impacting my time. So I'm trying to be more aware and cognizant of that. And how could I, adjust that time better, or maybe have some, off limits times that I'm not going to do it, so that I can, be more effective with that. I have a notepad by my bed because I often find in the night when I'm sleeping that things will pop into my mind. And so I'll take notes down so that I can go back to sleep again and kind of have some of those things out of my mind. So that's why I'm afraid that late night time that I'm spending is not the most effective time that I could be doing that.
Yeah, and I have to be really careful with that too. Some people it doesn't really seem to impact, but for me it does. The things that I do in those evening hours definitely impacts the quality of sleep that I get. And if I start, I can't even read a nonfiction book because it will just get my head spinning. The only thing I can read at night is a novel. That's it. Because if it's getting me, if it's anything related in any way to work, teaching, productivity, anything that I'm really passionate about and that's helping me learn, it gets my brain going and I start getting excited and then I can't sleep. So if you notice that for yourself, then I think you'll have to cut that off at a certain amount of time.
Okay.
And I think there's that's important to talk about those boundaries, like having these times where, okay, after 9 p.m. or whatever, I'm not going to be on social media. But I think even earlier in the day, if it's something that you're just doing to relax, for me, I feel like there's an amount of time that being on social media feels good. And then there comes this point where it crosses over the line to unhealthy. And if I'm paying attention,
Okay.
I can feel that line being crossed. I start to get the sense of, okay, that's enough, Angela. You've been sitting for too long. You've been staring at a screen for too long. Or like, I'm just starting to see the same types of stories over and over. And I feel like, okay, I'm sufficiently keyed into what's happening right now. It's time to stop. Does it happen that way for you too, where you notice that you need to stop because it starts to go from not being fun to feeling more like a habitual response where you're just scrolling and it doesn't feel good anymore?
Yeah, I think from time to time it does. Yeah, I can sense that there's times that that's been the case. You know, there's a lot of great things out there and resources, and so I keep trying to figure out what strategy to apply to spend time on there effectively instead of, like you said, just absent-mindedly scrolling and looking through things and to where it's really not a good use of my time.
Yeah, exactly. To notice, to pay attention to when does this stop feeling productive and healthy? When does it cross a line into imbalance where I know it's going to impact my relationship with my husband or it's going to impact my sleep? Notice how you feel in those moments when it starts to feel not as productive. Pay attention to that and notice how you feel when you do get offline. So you're not judging yourself. You're not criticizing yourself. You're just noticing. You're just paying attention. How does that feel? And pay attention to that feeling will make it easier for you to draw boundaries in the future. And also notice when you start to feel uncomfortable because you are creating this massive to-do list for yourself, or you're comparing yourself to other people. I think specifically with teaching ideas, that can be a real problem where when you're looking through Pinterest or Instagram, it just becomes like every single idea you see is so incredible and you want to do it. And then you start to feel sort of overwhelmed and inadequate, like, okay, I can't possibly do all this. I'm not doing enough. Is that something that happens to you when you're online?
It is from time to time, and absolutely, it's funny you would say that because that was something I was thinking about, kind of reflecting on recently. I follow some really positive, incredible teachers out there, but like you said, we can't possibly do every single idea, everything we see out there, and you do tend to start to compare yourself, oh, if I just did a little more or did this or did that in my classroom. And then I started to realize, wait a minute, but that's not me. I want to be true to myself and my talents and my abilities and how I can best, in the most engaging and effective way teach students, that fits my style. And so I had to kind of stop this week, even pause and think about that and kind of, and that's why this question really came up on my radar, is just to have some healthy limits for myself.
Yeah, I think that's really good. I think just being intentional, noticing, okay, first of all, is this negative or positive? Am I filling my mind with positive, uplifting things mostly? Obviously you can stay in touch with other things that are happening in the world, but you're already following lots of positive, energizing educators. So that's great. That's part of the battle. And then the other piece is making sure that you're also looking at it through the lens of what actually works for me. And just because other people are doing it and it works well for their classroom doesn't mean that it's going to fit for me. And it doesn't mean that I have to do it, because there's more great teaching ideas out there than you could ever do if you taught for 100 years. So
true.
Being
so
able
true.
to just look and discern and say, that's awesome. I love that. I'm going to leave her a lovely comment, letting her know I think she's fantastic, but I'm not going to feel pressure to do that same thing myself. So
that's really helpful for me.
What are the ways that you use social media and blogs that does feel healthy to you, that feels inspiring and makes you feel connected to other people and other educators without causing you to go down the spiral of unworthiness or guilt or pressure to keep up?
Yeah, some of that is, I've recently joined a group of teachers online doing one of your study books, The Awakened, which is such an encouragement. And that I know I have a set time that I'm going to be doing that at. And that's when I started to realize that boundaries would be most helpful for myself, because when I feel like it's a scheduled time that I'm getting on it and doing that, I don't go past the boundary of that scheduled time. Does that make sense?
Yes, I love that.
I know in the morning I'm going to get on when I drink my coffee and be on there for 15 minutes, and I'm going to read my passage or interact with people, and then I have to move on with my day and I get on. So it's almost like I've set like a boundary or structure for myself that it's only going to be at a certain time. my teammate and I, during our PLCs, like for example, today, we were looking for an inspirational quote, something that we wanted to put in the yearbook for our fifth graders that are moving on to middle school. And so we spent some time during our PLC searching for some ideas. And I felt like that was really effective time too. And we pretty quickly and easily found what we wanted. So when I feel like when I have boundaries on my time, or I set a limit, almost like this, I don't remember where I read this before, but a power hour where I do certain things within the hour. You know, I'm going to spend 15 minutes on this and 15 on this and 15 and 15. And then I've had a really productive hour of time that I haven't spent, you know, I haven't let time get away from me and wasted time. And something like that for me, I'm thinking is going to be more effective use of my time, or better for me because of just of my personality and the ease with which I'll just start scrolling and stray and you know, follow a rabbit trail, so to speak.
Yeah, that's great because you're talking about routines. So, you know, you're building it into your day at times that make sense for you and that feels healthy and feels balanced. And you're also talking about having limits and boundaries on how much time you're going to dedicate. And you're talking about having goals. So you're not just like, let me just see what's new. Let me just find something to fill my mind with, or, you know, just go through and get 20 new teaching ideas that I don't have time to do. But you're actually saying, okay, I'm looking for this specific thing. I'm going to find this specific thing. When 20 minutes is up, that's it. That's all the time that I'm spending on this.
Right.
And I think that's really healthy.
Yeah, that seems to be a lot more productive use of my time, and just keeping myself from letting time get away from me, because that's one of the important things that we talk about, being intentional with our time in you know, and kind of eliminating those unintentional breaks. You kind of talk about that in the 4-Hour Workweek. That's one of the first things. And there was kind of some key things that really stuck with me that year that I try to go back to a lot. You know, when I feel like life's getting busy and I slip away, I go back to some of that and say, okay, am I letting unintentional breaks crowd out my time? And I think that's going to really apply with my social media use as well. So.
Yeah, I think the temptation to take an unintentional break with social media is really strong because, you know, now that we have smartphones, you know, the whole world is at your fingertips, and it's so tempting to just be like, well, let me just go see if anyone liked this, or let me just go see if anyone posted something new over here. And that time can really just get away from you. If you get into one good thread of comments and you're reading and you're responding, like, you can lose a half hour of time and not even know it.
Sure.
It's so easy.
Yeah,
so
I've done that.
Yep. So yeah. I think being intentional is really, really important. Last May, I did an intentional connectivity challenge in May. Did you hear about that? Was that something you heard about or participated in?
I don't think I remember that, truthfully.
Okay.
May is the crazy month at the end of the school year and we were packing up and moving some classrooms in our building, so I bet I didn't.
Okay. It wasn't part of the club. It's actually just something free that I do completely on the side. So if you haven't done it, this might be a good year to do it, because I'm going to do it again this May. And this is how it works. It's a 21-day challenge. And the idea is that it takes less than 2 minutes per week to participate. So it's not something you have to invest a lot of time in. All you have to do is just read the message that I send via email and you implement the idea. And so each week for these 21 days, it's a 3-week thing. Each week there's going to be a habit that I share, and it's not going to add anything to your plate. It won't be one more thing that you have to do. It's actually going to eliminate a time waster and free up time and increase mental focus. So the goal of the challenge isn't to give up social media or anything like that. It's just to be intentional about our connectivity, really, and do all of these things that we talked about here, to get on our devices because we want to and we have a purpose, not because it's just a habit or, you know, we're trying to give ourselves a break or we just sort of feel compelled to get on. So the 3 basic habits in the intentional connectivity challenge that I will encourage you to make and that you will be able to practice through the challenge if you want to participate. There's these 3 habits. The first one is to reconfigure your notification settings to fit with your connectivity goals. So for a lot of people, that means turning notifications off for everything. Some people will turn them off for everything except for certain text message threads, but get into this habit where you're not getting dinged by your phone constantly. Or, you know, every time that you're online working, you have all these different tabs open and you're constantly getting notifications. So you're controlling when you get on it. So that's the habit for the first week. And then the second habit is to create morning and bedtime routines that are more enjoyable than checking your phone. So this is for people who feel compelled to check first thing in the morning, or for people like you and I who find ourselves checking it way too late into the evening and can't stop that habit.
Right.
Well, the idea here is to replace that habit, because that's all it is, it's a habit, with something that you like more. So get a good book that you really like, get in the habit of taking a bubble bath at night or having a conversation with your husband. Find something that you really like to do and replace that habit right before bed so that you're not on social media. So that's the second habit. And then the third habit in the third week is to practice giving your mind space to wander during moments of boredom or procrastination, instead of just reaching automatically for your phone. Because what a lot of people do, and this is something that I struggle with daily, like I still have not mastered this. I will be taking this challenge again myself because I need to get back in the habit. If I'm in an elevator, if I'm at a stoplight, if I have 30 seconds to myself, my brain says, check your phone. Like there's something interesting happening online and your real life is not interesting right now. Find something to stimulate your brain, find something to engage yourself. And that's a really bad habit because you're not giving boredom is good, right? Like that's where creativity is born. It's from having these quiet moments to be present, to look around, to connect with the people around you, to be grateful, to experience that moment of gratitude for where you are and just have that moment to step back and not have this constant stimulation coming at you. And a lot of us have sort of lost that habit or struggle to keep that habit of just giving yourself that silence and that space. So that's the third week of habit. So it's challenging, but those three things will really make a big difference. Does any of that resonate with you?
Absolutely. I think that is exactly what I need. And I had not even considered reconfiguring the notifications. I think that is going to be a number one important priority for me that I probably will even do right now to go make some adjustments to that. Because I think that I didn't realize it until you said that that's potentially a big distraction for me. Because I hear that or the phone, the chime goes off and then I have to look and see what that was.
Yes, you have to look. You can't not look.
Yeah. Fear of missing out, right?
Yes, exactly. And the only way to not look is if you didn't know the notification was there until you are intentionally getting back on, until it's, 7:30 or whatever time you've decided to get on. That's when you get on and look. And that's it. So changing those notification settings, I think will really help with you being more intentional. And, I think almost every teacher that I talk with feels like it's impossible to turn off his or her brain at night and rest. I think there's always too much to do. There's too many things to remember. There's not enough time for any of it. So being more intentional about your connectivity habits and when you're using social media really is one of the easiest, fastest, most powerful ways that you can change that and sort of turn off your mind and rest, like really being aware of when you're getting online.
Yeah, I'm really going to put this into practice in the next few weeks because I felt some of that intentionality slipping away from me. I felt like doing the 40-hour work week through the year and applying, as I was applying things each month, that I was really getting a better grasp on the balance and that feeling of putting first things first and being balanced and writing things down and my list making. And it felt like that was slipping away and I wasn't sure why, but now it's starting to make sense to me that I think a lot of it has to do with my social media habits right now. And that if I make some adjustments and try to put into place some of these suggestions that you've offered, that I'm going to feel more of that balance come back.
Yeah, because balance isn't something, we want it to be something that we can just achieve once and for all. Like, yay, I've got my life in balance. Now all I have to do is just maintain. But life is always changing and there's always new challenges coming up and you get into one habit or one routine and then, your schedule switches up or the seasons change. Like there's just different things happening all the time. So it really is a daily decision to make balanced choices. And in a way that's kind of cool because it means if you make a bad decision in one moment, you can make a better decision in the next moment. It's really no big loss.
Absolutely.
And we're going to, no one is going to get in balance and always stay there. It's something we always have to be mindful of, especially with something like social media.
Especially thinking back to conference time and thinking about how I schedule my time and to relaxing some standards in some other areas. And then, so that I'm not trying to be all things to all people during that time, but that I can really focus on putting first things first and what's best as I'm doing conferences and knowing that that's just for a short season of that week or 2 weeks leading up to that, is really going to be helpful for me to prioritize some things. And I also think too, just having some new routines at my evening time is really going to help as well. I'm going to make some changes to that and what I'm doing at night, and see if that doesn't help my my sleep habits to improve as well. And I think that's going to help my energy level. That's going to kind of play out in a lot of ways.
Yep.
So yeah, I think you've definitely given me a lot that I can apply and try, and I appreciate that so much.
Thanks so much for listening in to this coaching call with April. If you would like to join she and I and thousands of other educators for this intentional connectivity challenge, we're going to be taking it together as a group beginning on May 1st. However, if you're listening to this episode after that and you missed the start, it's fine. You can still sign up. You can do it on your own now. No worries. Just go to truthforteachers.com and you will see info near the top of the page about how to join us. Have a great week. You can do this. And remember, it's not going to be easy. It's going to be worth it. Truth for Teachers is a proud member of the Education Podcast Network. Podcasts for educators, podcasts by educators. For more great podcast recommendations, go to edupodcastnetwork.com. That's edupodcastnetwork.com.